Okay, so let's take a look at this SVG. Now, I'm not sure on the one that you linked there, but I was looking at this one, and I believe this site information is simply the designation of the standards, some SVG standard. What's really determining the SVG, the path of the image or that vector art, I believe is this here. So there's your fill color, and then here's the path of all the data points. So if I were to change, like say this one, see how it's skewed. That's the actual path that's being rendered on the screen. So if there's a way that you can get that path, or if they offer that path, that would be, you'd be able to use this method. I'd have to look at how you're getting it from the, what was the site or the place that you picked up those SVGs from? Would I be able to get them, or you said maybe you purchased them?
The SVGs are their flat icon.
Flat icon. Okay.
Yeah, if you go into that guy's little whatever it was there that I sent through Slack, he actually uses them from he uses icons from flat icon in there. He says it, but that's where I got them from. He just gives 3 different ways to be able to use them.
Okay. So he's importing from this icons. Let's take a look at, are these all?
So type in like animals. I'm trying to find one. I'm trying to look and see.
I guess we could just choose anyone. They're all just.
You could, or you could type in like deer. That'll bring up probably one of the ones that I used. So, yeah, like the upper right hand corner, that's close to what I was using, something like that.
PNG, SVG. Then you get the SVG as a file.
And see, I paid the whatever, it's like $9 a month or something to get the premium.
Oh, this share thing keeps coming in. I'm sure you can't see it on your screen, but that little share box always blocks my address bar. Let me look into this and see what we can do. So they say this person is using flat icons, right?
Yeah, in the up right there, he said that he used all the icons in his tutorial are from flat icon, and then he just used. He does those 3 different ways is how he.
CLI.
Yep, and then when you go down, like he walks you through it, and then the next one is the Webpack. But each one of them has a website with it, so that's why I was like, okay, this might work if I can figure it out. See, now it gets into the Webpack part.
Yeah, I'm looking for the website reference that you're mentioning. I don't see.
So like, see where he's got GitHub. Oh, well, I don't know what all that is. So see where he puts in the A tag?
That's just an anchor tag. This is the icon right here. This is just a link to go to, Twitter under his.
I won't need that.
No, you just want, the deer icon or the buck icon or whatever to show up, right?
Yeah. So if I put them in a folder and then just do it that way?
So yeah, it looks like he's creating an icons folder.
Right.
Or no, here's his assets. So he has an assets folder, and then he has the SVG files. Right, and then this is his ideal. So he has to create an icon component. So he has, let's see, so he's installing this SVGR CLI package.
Now, if you look at what he did for the web pack, for some reason that seems a little easier to me.
In this one?
Yeah.
This portion? Let's see. So he's got, okay, so he's importing the SVGs.
From an icon folder, right?
Yeah, so he just set up a folder.
Yep.
Pasted, copy and pasted those things in there. He's importing them, using them here. How does he do that? So he's just saying, okay, so this must be, it must be able to import that the same way you would import like an export default.
Okay.
Right, so it looks like it treats it like that. And then in here, he's testing for SVG, and he's using this package. So he just has to install that package.
Right.
All right. That seems easy enough.
So I could essentially do the same thing then. Since I already have them all downloaded, just throw them into like a folder and then import each one.
Yes, but you'll need access to your Webpack config file. So create React app that's hidden away from you until you what's called eject the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is because of all that configuration is done kind of behind the scenes for you, it manages all of that. But if you need to do something custom like this, excuse me, you can eject that solution. And all it really does is it makes all those files available to you, and you'll see all the configuration for your entire project. Now, however, you can't uneject it. Like you can't go back. So if you're going to make changes to it, you just have to accept that you just can't go back to where it's managing it for you. But since you need to make a change, it seems like that would be a good solution to do so. And all you have to do is make sure you don't touch anything that's, you're not sure of.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do that.
I'm hoping that at the end of next week, we'll have a little time to talk about like a custom Webpack config.
Okay.
If not, then what I could probably do is create like a, what did Max call them? A screencast or just record something and post it. Might be able to do that as well.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Yep. Like
yeah.
So he did he did a tutorial for like setting up the capstone and a couple other things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So I could probably do one for that if we don't have enough time.
Okay.
In the meantime, I can show you how to eject a solution. Let's go to, first I got to find a solution. Where was I? I was in Backup State. Oh, no, I don't want that one. Yes, byte. Then I go into my client. That's where I want to be, except I want to be at this level. I'm going to open up my editor. And inside our client folder, or wherever you have your solution, right? Or wherever your package.json is.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using create React app, you can see there's an eject script. And what you would do, move my little share icon here. I would say npm run eject. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all your configuration and make it, you'll be able to see all of that. And then you can add that custom parameter inside your Webpack config.
Okay.
Now I'm not going to eject byte. Let me see if I can find a solution that has something I've already ejected. Let me think. I deleted a bunch of stuff in here, so I probably deleted that one. Well, maybe not. Oh, we can use. Yeah, we can use this one. I think I have ejected this one. Yes. So when you eject, it's going to look like your file structure is going to look like this. You're going to see build. That's where when you actually build the thing to deploy it, that's where all those files are generated and put. Your config files, self-explanatory, right? This is where all your configs are coming from.
Right.
Any libraries that well, this is a custom folder that I created for this particular React component that I published to NPM, where I have various components as part of my library. And then what I do is I publish the library to make it publicly available. But we want to look at config. So if we see there's several things in here. Webpack dev server is when you're running npm start. This is the thing that's refreshing your browser and making all the changes live.
Right.
That's what this config is for. There's a configuration for when you deploy it for production and one for development.
Okay.
So we'd want to make sure that if you eject it, you include that change in both the dev and the prod.
Okay.
Because if you put it in dev but not prod, it'll never go to production.
Right. It'll never show up on the.
Right. So let's see. So they say it needs to go into a rule. So we have to create a rule for it. And if you go down here, you'll find module, rules, and then all these objects represent different rules that Webpack is going to follow for whatever you're trying to do, right? So this one is looking for images. This one's looking for JavaScript files or JSX extensions, or these are modules. Then there's your CSS, and then you could come down and just say, or you could put it in any order. It's just going to follow the rules. It's an array. So you can go right to the start of it and just paste that in, and it'll be part of your rule set.
Okay.
Right. You'll have to also make sure, of course, that you install this package.
Right.
So that it knows what to do, right, when it comes across those files.
Yes.
So it looks like you'll have to eject your solution to do it.
Okay.
But that's not the worst thing in the world. Just make sure you don't delete anything.
No, I don't think I would do that. And before I do anything, I'll make sure that it's what I want before.
Worst case scenario, you create a new Create React app and you copy and paste all your old components into your new solution.
Right.
And then eject again, right? Nothing's truly gone unless you've totally deleted it.
Yeah. And I can always make a dummy file to test it out first.
Right. So do you want to try that?
Yeah, I think I'll try that. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. I'll make like a dummy file and test it out to make sure that it works. And then I can just take that part and put it in my actual capstone.
Right. So I would try it for you, but I don't have your SVGs.
Yeah. I mean, I can send them to you, but I'll try it myself. If I get stuck, I'll holler at you to.
Okay, sure. Yeah, and in the meantime, if I can hunt down some free SVGs and play with it, I'll do that as well.
Okay. I mean, I can send you, the SVGs that I'll be using, if you want to play with it, but I want to try this myself and see.
Right. Try it first.
Yeah.
If you get really, really stuck, then we'll go the other route.
Okay. That sounds good.
All right.
Thanks.
I'm going to bookmark this because this is useful to me too. And we'll put it in. This one too. All right, I'm gonna mute. All right, Dakir. So you want to layer some components. So you want to compose these in such a way that I'm guessing this is due to your images and your backgrounds.
Yeah, my backgrounds, yep, but also like which components. Well, I guess it's different now since we're gonna learn the store. But I was thinking as far as like state goes as well,
Mm-hmm.
making sure each component gets what it needs.
Right. Yeah. So with how you're layering them, let me just pull up this right here, and we'll layer 3 components together.
Okay.
Or in this case, they're just going to be elements. So we'll have our div, which would be element 1. We'll create 2 more. Oops, that is not the right shortcut. 2 and element 3. And we'll give them some classes here just so we can see some style show up.
Okay.
Otherwise, kind of hard to do so. L1, L2, and L3. And we'll blast some styles in here real quick. So we'll say, let's give them all width. We'll say width of 100. Let's make it more obvious. 200. Height of 200. And we'll do something similar, but we're going to change the widths and the heights so that we can nest them properly visually. So we'll say 100. 50. Oops. Background color. We'll do like a dark gray. Maybe a lighter gray. We'll just do shades of gray here. Okay, so now we have some basic. Oh, I have to import that. All right, so now we have these elements, right? You can see they're stacked on top of each other. If I want to get element 2 to be stacked properly in element 1, I just need to nest it in the right order. And then if I need see how they're stacking.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be considered a parent, and this would be a child.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also a parent because it has a child as well.
Right.
So this is like the grandparent right here.
Mhm.
So when you have elements or components inside of each other, typically the highest parent will be displayed behind everything else.
Okay.
Typically, you can also change the z index. Like I could change the z index on this one and give it a higher z index than the others.
Uh-huh.
It's not doing it. Hold on. Say z index, say 50. Maybe it's because the other ones don't have a z index either. So I'll make this one 51. That's interesting.
Mm.
Usually it should pop right up unless it's position relative. There's a combination. I'm trying to remember it. I'll have to look that up. But essentially, the one that's in the back typically wins,
Mhm.
right? However, if you want to have like a full background, which I think was what you were trying to do, right?
Yeah.
You're going to want to make sure you apply that image to the farthest most background thing that's on your screen,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So that's the trick, right? Getting the image on the right background. Because this element's, everything else is contained inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to make this small light gray element have a full screen background if everything else behind it's larger than itself.
So what about
It's
like-
mostly going to come down to styling. I'm not a CSS wizard, so I'd have to do a little research to help you out with like the as you can see, I can't get the z index on top of each other. But I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there.
no, as far as the getting an image to fit in its parent like element,
hmm
would you be able to help me with that?
So let's say we want to put an image in element 1 here.
Or an element 2. Say I
Element
want
2.
element 2 to have.
All right, let's do this. Let's give it. Oops, sorry. Let's do. Make it a little wider, a little bit different aspect ratio here. Hopefully you won't hear my kids screaming in the background soon. They just got home. All right, so let's get an image in there. And let's go find an image. Oh, what's this? Unsplash, that's what it was. Leaves. Sure. Something with that. This looks good. So we've got this one here. Copy image address. And so in element 2, we have a background where its URL is this. Now it's there. You can see the color change, but we have to change the background size. We'll say cover.
Oh, okay.
Right. So no matter how large or small this element becomes, it's going to scale that image. Right. So I'll just as an example. But its aspect ratio of the image is not distorted. Right. There's different attributes for background size.
Okay.
I don't remember them all. Contain. Okay, so that just contains the image and repeats it. But you could change that. You could give it oh, I forgot the syntax. Definitely not that one. Yeah, I'd have to look up the syntax, but there's shortcuts for changing all the different background, like the X and the Y axis, how much it's distorted, like how much of it you're showing. I typically use like cover because I know it's going to stretch it to the size that it keeps the aspect ratio but fills the element.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's
Especially if you want something full screen.
yeah, I do.
Now keep in mind though, if you're going to display like artwork, you probably don't want it to be cut off.
Right.
So you'll want to make sure that your elements have the same aspect ratio as your imagery.
Okay.
Right? Because you don't want to put a bunch of square elements and throw cover on it if all your images are like 3:4 ratios. Because then you're going to cut off the artwork and it kind of defeats the purpose of a gallery, right? You want to show off the whole artwork.
Yeah.
Another thing you could do is you can give things like borders. Right, so in case you want to highlight the elements a certain way, there's different types of grooved or groove. Maybe that's not it. So there's different things you can do, like for borders, to kind of separate them from your background as well, especially with like gallery stuff. Lots of things you can play with CSS wise.
Okay.
But does this help you here?
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
And I can do the same thing with components, just making sure that I'm putting them in the right.
Right. So each one of these, let's do this real quick. Let's show it as a component. So we'll create a new function. We'll call it image. We'll return our div. Let's do a self-closing div. And we're going to apply a class name based on a class name that we pass in.
Okay.
We'll do props.class name. And we'll get rid of these. Where am I? We'll say image. We also want to render children. Oh, no, we don't. Not just yet. Let's just get this working first. So we have class name equals L1 or L2, right? If I want to display something inside of another element, I don't know if Alice went over this or not, but that's the children prop.
Okay.
And that's, oh, actually, I didn't want to do that. You can render children that are passed in, and I'll show you how that works. I would say props.children. Even though we're not defining children as like a prop name like this, anything that's inside these start and end tags is considered a child.
Okay.
See? So it's going to render the children, which is basically anything that's a child element or child component of this one.
And that can be an HTML element or another component.
Correct. It could be, so let's do this. Let's say image. Let's do another image, right? And we'll say class name L3 or L1.
And it just fits in. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's
because we're defining where we want those children to be displayed. And that's very, very useful. I could put other elements after this. See how it's rendering it?
Yeah.
Each one has a footer. This one just happens to have the footer here. This one happens to have a footer here because there's nothing inside of it. But if I put something inside this one, this looks terrible as far as the UI is concerned. But hopefully it gets the point across.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as, so here's what I was thinking, based on the tutorial I saw, as far as the logic goes, to get to render all the pictures. Like, it's going to be a screen of at least 5
5? Kira, you still there?
Oh, I pressed mute. Sorry.
Oh, well, the last thing I heard was 5.
Yeah. So if I have 5, 10 images that I want to render to the screen in like the same that same square, I could do the dot map thing that you use for the table, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, let's do that real quick. Let's do this. We'll just say we have images, right? I'm just gonna, it doesn't really matter what's in here right now.
Okay.
I just want an array of stuff, right? So I come down here and I say images dot map, and for each image, I want to return it a component, right? I want to return an image, give it a class name. Let's do that L2.
Wow.
Now I have a bunch of them.
Good.
Let's also do, oops, wrong one. We'll do display of inline block.
What did you just do?
So your display, there's different ways to display an element. By default, a div has a display property of block, which means it's going to take up the entire horizontal row here. Imagine there's 3 rows. The flow of the elements on the screen, if it's a block, it takes up as much horizontal width as it can. Everything else goes down below it. Or if it's inline, everything will display next to each other. Now, this looks terrible because we haven't displayed. Something's not right. All right, inline block for divs. So these are going to display in line with each other, but they're just still going to display the full width of whatever they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look up the display property in CSS, you'll see a bunch of options for that.
Yeah. We were showed display flex, but I didn't know.
Oh yeah, flex is nice too, because then you can position things all over the place.
Okay. Yeah, you give me some good stuff to work with. Thank you.
All right, cool. And then yeah, so just make sure that when you're iterating, that you give your things a key.
Okay.
This is just a unique number. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
But yeah, make sure it has some sort of unique identifier. Last resort, you can't find a unique identifier, use the index from your map callback function.
Okay.
But try to find a unique identifier first before you resort to that.
Okay.
Or implement one yourself. You can even use like the image name or something like that, as long as they're unique.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
I'll leave this up.
Okay, that was really cool. And I'm glad that I watched it because I can use it in future projects.
Oh, excellent. All right, Kate, so we need some help over here. So you've got a quiz. Okay, let's take a look. And quiz. So maybe you can guide me to which portion.
Okay, so the quiz.js is the actual quiz.
So that's the main one. Okay. Oh, I see. You're importing the other things. Okay. So you have render answer options, and then you return this stuff here. All right.
Yeah, so like I followed a tutorial and it works, and slowly I'm starting to like pick up like what they did, but clear explanation. And I know that there's ways that different parts of my app I can actually make more efficient just based on like this past week. So
Right. So let's just take a look. So answer options. Is answer options a list element, an li element? Because you have an unordered list down here.
let me see.
Yes, it is. Okay, cool. So that's good. Then you just have an input, radio. So the way this set up, it looks okay. You have a count, you have a question, and then a bunch of options for answers. So in this function, we'll render out all of your render answer options, props.answer options. So you're passing that in to your quiz based, I'm guessing based on the question that you're also presenting.
Yeah.
Right, so that's good. Yep, and then this looks fine. You're passing all your props down, that's cool. Answer options. So looks like you need to pass in a function for your change event. Props that on answer selected. Where's quiz getting called?
In my app.js.
In your app.js, okay. Handle answer selected. Okay, so you're doing all your state in your app.js then. Okay. You say it's working.
It does, yeah.
Okay. So you're just looking for some input on structuring it?
I feel like it's done kind of messy. I don't know if that's actually even true, but like it feels like it is. And there's some parts that are happening that I'm not 100% clear on what they're doing. So like when people ask me questions like, oh, this is being done here. And I'm like, sure. Because there's certain things that I'm just like, oh, I, it's slowly starting to get clearer to me, but there are certain things that I'm like, I'm not really sure what this is doing. And I know that when I render the result, I don't think it's actually being called a different component up, or is it?
Render result.
There's a render result function, and it looks like that it is bringing up that result component, but I wasn't sure.
So you have so it looks like here in your main render here, if there is a result, you're rendering the result. Otherwise, you're rendering the quiz. Okay. So as long as that has a result, this logic should fire.
Okay.
And as far as if you're concerned if it's messy or not, it actually looks pretty good.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider it messy. I mean, you may feel that it's messy because there's a lot in one file, but sometimes that's okay. I have files that are very large.
I mean, I know there's like visual elements that I can clean up, and I know that for my actual idea, I think what I can do is where I have like my dog container, I can actually pull in all my data for like a dog, and then based on what page I'm actually on, holy moly, that wind is strong. Sorry, it just got really dark and really windy all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
So I know that like I think I'll be able to populate each part of like, you know, a dog description, a dog image, and then based on whatever page you're on, like render certain pieces out.
Mm-hmm.
That, do I have that like correct?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. When we get into state management and having like that quote unquote global state, that'll provide some useful techniques for doing that.
Okay.
Because when you think about, and just as like this is like a precursor to what we're going to talk about, when you handle state, depending on what the data is, you need to be careful of where you're actually storing it and why you would store it there. So for example, in your quiz, let's just pretend that instead of passing in via props, the state was in the quiz, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would want to make sure wherever you're putting your state, that's the top level most element that needs it, right? So if quiz has children components that need the state from quiz, then the state lives in quiz. But if you put all the state inside like the answer component, but quiz still needs it, quiz can't get it, right? So you have to go to the topmost element where basically the data will cascade down from. So you have it in app, which is like the topmost one.
Right.
So you actually are kind of doing a state management pattern right now.
Okay.
Right? Because app has all the state, everything else has access to it, but you're passing it down via props.
Okay.
But that is a valid way to handle state in an application.
Okay.
Once your application starts to grow and you have like, say, you're 10 children deep in the component tree, then it kind of makes sense to have some sort of a global type of state where you can just access it from the bottommost child instead of passing it all the way down.
Okay.
Right? And there's patterns for doing that. We will definitely go over that. Yours doesn't seem like it's like you have a lot of like a deep component tree. So you could totally get away with doing it this way and passing down a prop here and there.
Okay. Would my results be something that would be like a global state, because I plan on having like, say like a certain user logs in, or like that's what gets sent out to like the database is like whatever their answer was. That's something that I want to store and be able to do other pages because of that.
Yes. So when your state gets also, so you could have a very, we'll just say a shallow component tree, but let's say your state gets pretty complex. Sometimes it helps to have that extra state management library just to manage which state is stored, which one is going out, are you fetching, are you, all that stuff. So while you could definitely implement all of that inside of app, all the methods inside your app component are going to start to get cluttered as well. So I think you could actually definitely benefit from just a little bit higher of a state management solution.
Okay.
And the good news is that the way you have it implemented now, it won't take a lot of effort to update what you've already done.
Okay.
Because you already have a good structure to it, and it looks pretty good. And all your state is living in one spot, so you don't have to like try to consolidate it.
Okay.
Right? So you're actually in a good position to implement a state management solution.
Okay. That's good to hear.
Yes. And we're going to spend a lot of time on it because I really want to drive home all the concepts with it, why you would do it a certain way. I'm going to introduce a state management solution that's really easy to use, but it can also grow as you grow in your skills.
Okay.
It felt like I was kind of dancing around your question. Is there anything else you want to have me look at, or any other questions on this?
See, I think I have a pretty good like game plan as far as like what I'm going to do with this. I think like little things where I'm kind of like, oh, am I doing this and am I doing this correctly?
Yeah.
That's really where I keep getting like hung up. But I think I have a pretty good like, here's what I'm gonna do and here's what needs to get done. And worst scenario, I still have a working quiz. So
Yeah, and everything I see so far it looks very neat and tidy.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's messy at all. App.js is a little large only because you have a lot of stuff going on in there. But I think if you, like I said, with that state management stuff, you can kind of clean up App.js and have all that state stuff somewhere else.
Okay.
And that'll look really, really neat and tidy.
Yeah, because there were like as I was going through like different things, I started using like class components a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
And like after this week, I was like, well, maybe I don't need to do that many class components. So I didn't know if there was like ways that I could get around like using class components that would make it a little nicer.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. The code that we're going to write is going to be very, very succinct and very clean.
Okay.
So it'll definitely save you some lines of code in your components. Okay. Anything else on this one, or is that okay for now?
Nope. I think I'm in good shape.
Okay, great. Also, what you could do in the meantime, since you're in a good spot, if you go to reactjs.org, to the docs, and look at state and life cycle, and also context. Because the state management solution we're going to build is based on this concept. So it would be good to get actually for anyone looking at this, to give a read on the context solution under advanced guides. It says advanced guides, but context really isn't that advanced once you kind of get a good understanding of it. And then also the between state and life cycle and context, you'll be in good shape.
Okay.
At least it'll get it in your head. You don't have to understand everything the first read through, but at least you'll start to pick up and recognize things that I'll be talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll post a link to this too.